I've never posted one of these before, but recently my friend brought up this story that I'd basically repressed, and I figured people on here would be interested. I'm also using the names from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. It's 3 a.m., so my brain can't come up with some actual names. Before I begin, I'll clarify right now that I absolutely never led this kid on. Everyone who knew about it while it was happening will say the same. I'm not a flirty person at all, and I was very careful not to say or do anything to make this boy believe I was into him. So let's time travel back 7 years, all the way back to when I was only 14 years old. It makes me feel old as heck. I was at a high school sporting event. It was a late Friday night game. I can't remember if it was football or baseball. All I know was that it was the last day of school before spring break. I wasn't super into school spirit stuff. I was an emo kid and a loner for the most part, but my best friend pressured me into going. I reluctantly agreed, and looking back on it, I really wish I didn't. I've known her since I was about 4, so if anyone can convince my stubborn ass to do something, it's 100% her. And for the sake of anonymity, we'll call the stalker boy Zach, and my guy friend Cody. I had met Zach through this friend Cody. I probably spoke to him for about 3 minutes, honestly. It was more like an introduction, and I didn't vibe with the way he stared at me. I went back to all my girlfriends, and we continued on with the night. After I got home, I received a text from Cody saying that Zach thought I was pretty and wanted my phone number, so he decided to give it to him. I didn't really think too much about it. I mean, it's not that I wanted him to have my number, but I was super close with Cody and he was a very reliable friend. I knew he would never give my number to someone if he thought something was off about them. So I wake up the next day, on a Saturday. Everything was fine. Towards the afternoon, I receive a text saying, "Hey, it's Zach. I got your number from Cody." We did a bunch of small talk, basically. I didn't want to be a jerk, so I'd respond, mainly because he was friends with Cody. After about 45 minutes of texting, he tells me he's leaving for a cruise and was really upset I wasn't coming with. Obviously, I asked what he meant, and he said he would miss me and hated to be away from me for even a week. I definitely thought it was extremely weird, but I figured it was sarcasm or some sort of joke. I texted back saying something like, "We've spoken for less than an hour. I think you'll be just fine." He just said, "Yeah, I guess." From my perspective, I had a lot going on in my life at the time. I was very anxious talking to people. I suffered from depression and daddy issues. I wasn't someone who could just be like, "You're weird," and block a number. I was very shy and didn't know what to do in these types of situations. I'll admit I let it go on longer than I should have, but I was 14, and I didn't realize who I was dealing with, to be honest. So he's on the cruise, and I didn't hear from him for a whole week. Eventually, he gets off the boat and tells me I'm the first person he wanted to text. He even said he couldn't stop thinking about me the whole time, and all the fun things we could have been doing while on the trip. The rest is pretty fuzzy, but all I really remember is Zach kept saying weird stuff, how we would get married in the future, how we were soulmates, how he's never been so in love with anyone. He became completely obsessed with me for some reason. If I didn't respond, he would text me every 5 minutes on the dot, asking if I was mad at him until I responded. It was very obsessive behavior. I would tell him I was just busy and he'd get very upset. He just needed me to text him constantly. One day, I basically told him that he was taking things too far, and that I was starting to get uncomfortable. I said I was sorry if I had somehow led him on, but I thought of him as more of a friend. He didn't really like that response. He was making fake Instagrams to harass me, telling me he was going to kill himself because I broke his heart, calling me a whore. My first kiss was at 18 and my first boyfriend was at 19, so you do the math on whether I'm a whore or not. He was just saying anything and everything to hurt me. I spent 6 hours apologizing, while he was yelling at me about how I'm a horrible person and should kill myself. It was just a fucked up conversation. I could not get Zach to leave me alone, for months on end. After that, my friends had to sneak me around on campus to avoid Zach. I'd have to cut through buildings and take the long way to steer clear from him. Eventually, after a few months, he stopped harassing me online, and I actually thought that I was free. Flash forward to sophomore year. After months of being in a chemistry class, I noticed my friend, who we'll call Max, had the same last name as Zach. It's an uncommon last name, so it was like a little light bulb turned on in my brain. I immediately asked if they were related, and he rolled his eyes and said, yeah. We ended up chatting, and apparently I'm not the only girl Zach would harass. Max told me he got sent to another school and was put into therapy for basically being crazy and aggressive. Zach was unfortunately extremely abusive towards Max. I was relieved he was sent away. Max was definitely more relieved. It just made sense why the harassment stopped so suddenly. Now that we were entering our junior year, Max had informed me his brother was enrolled back at our school. Thankfully, I had heads up, but nothing would prepare me for when I actually saw him face to face. I would walk into my English class, and guess who was sitting in the goddamn classroom? If you'd guessed Zach, you'd get a big-ass gold star. The second we made eye contact, he smiled the creepiest smile I've ever seen. I was so scared I almost shit my own spleen out. Thankfully, he never spoke to me or harassed me. However, he did spend every class staring at me with that scary grin on his face. As much as I wish I was making this up, unfortunately, these are true events that really affected me all throughout high school. When my friend brought it up the other day, it honestly felt like a faraway fever dream, like I just forgot it was all real. It was hard spending 2 whole years of high school terrified of bumping into him, not knowing what he would do, especially after finding out everything his brother Max went through. These events happened over several months in 2016, when my sister and I, 16 and 14, first moved into our most recent apartment complex with our mother. We now call it the apartment complex from hell because there were many incidents like this. I wrote about 2 of them already. Admittedly, we were still into our hoverboard craze back then and would ride them around. This is how we met Savannah. She was our age and lived in our building. She asked to hang out, and we were very happy to hopefully make new friends, so of course we said yes. We hung out outside the complex at a little park area. It would get dark, and we'd start making up ghost stories. Turns out she liked creepy paranormal stuff just like we did. Note, I did not actually believe in this stuff, and still don't. Every time I reference the paranormal, it's usually hyperbole. As we were walking home, the light in one of the apartment hallways flickered. I joked and said it was a spirit trying to communicate with us. Sarah made up a flash once for yes, twice for no system to communicate with the spirit, and we messed around for a bit. We thought it was just harmless fun. The next day, she runs over to us excited. She informs us that the spirit we had met last night told her its name, that it was Kieran and it meant light, so it all made perfect sense now. We asked her how she knew. She said she went back later that night alone to talk to it. This was the first time it occurred to us that she might really believe in this stuff. Our aunt had given us an old Ouija board as a joke the year before, and we thought Savannah might like it. Savannah lit up and said she wanted to try and talk to Kieran. We huddled in the hallway connecting the apartments and put our hands on the board. We kept getting random letters that didn't make sense, but soon Savannah's questions were directed towards Kieran. We felt her moving the planchette and called her out, but she got mad and said she'd prove it. She took her hand off the planchette and it no longer moved. She just huffed and insisted it wasn't her. Over the next few weeks, we did mostly normal stuff together with her, but she kept talking about the ghosts and Ouija boards until we broke down and played it again. This time we were introduced to a new ghost, Evan. We knew it was Savannah moving the planchette, but we were curious about the story she was making, so we let her follow through. Evan was a ghost, or demon rather, about our age who wanted to be free from a greater demon controlling him. That greater demon's name? Kieran. Savannah's parents called her inside, and conveniently Evan had to go too. He told us he'd protect us from Kieran, especially Savannah. Savannah commented how cute it was for him to offer. A few days go by normally. Then Savannah's back to tell us she has a boyfriend. We were very happy for her until she tells us his name is Evan. We're wondering what the hell she's talking about, and she explains that while sleeping over at another friend's house, something had tugged at her shorts while she slept. She had woken up and heard Evan's voice. Then he'd visited her in her dreams and asked to date or something like that. She'd said yes. Of course, we know she made Evan up, so we were kind of like, what's wrong with you? We didn't talk about the demon stuff anymore after that. Savannah was extremely possessive over her friends. When she'd see us with someone else, she'd text us non-stop about why we hadn't invited her to hang out with us. We tried to keep our distance, but she lived on the ground floor and literally watched her window waiting for us to come outside every day. She'd latch onto us. We didn't know much about her home life, but she always seemed very troubled. She had scars all over her wrists and constantly talked about running away from home. Her parents seemed alright, if rather strict and religious. We still hung out with her because we were very worried, but we were starting to feel weird about it. Worse, she'd randomly show up holding her hand out, saying Evan was holding her hand. She'd look at random things and then laugh when no one was talking, because Evan had told her a joke. Once she made us feel her cheek where it was supposedly warm from Evan kissing her. It was not warm. One day my sister and I were bored from her talking to Evan on the Ouija board. She was still controlling the whole thing, and wanted to have some fun. I texted my mom to call my phone from a blocked number and play some creepy sounds. Looking back, this was one of the dumbest things I did, but at the time it was just for fun. My mom made the call and I put it on speaker. Savannah is living for it, especially when my mom played a track from a scary movie about a ghost. My mom took it a step further and threw a banana off the third-story balcony for all of us to see. Savannah said it was a sign that Kieran was winning. We had no idea of the fire this would light in her. We were about to tell her it was just a prank, but again her mom called her inside. She found us again the next day, and I came clean about the prank. She laughed and said there was no way we could have done that. I said no, my mom literally did all of it. While Savannah had told her friend about it, who told her that yellow objects like the banana were a sign of the devil, and seeing them meant the devil was hunting you. This was all she talked about for a long time, but since nothing else happened, she gradually forgot. Things went back to normal for a while, until Autumn moved in. Autumn and Savannah connected instantly because of their history with depression. Autumn was a few years younger than us, but had a hell of a lot more of a past. This included significant time spent in psychiatric facilities and violence towards her classmates and family. Autumn claimed she heard demons talk to her at night, and just like that, the ghost stuff had started again. Savannah felt threatened by Autumn, and felt the need to one-up her with this ghost stuff. She told her Evan was her ghost brother that looked out for her. I was like, hold on, you claimed he was your boyfriend. She giggled and said, that's gross, he's my brother. Her story had completely switched. Now she was dating another demon named Jacob, and they were engaged or something. She even showed us a ring to prove it. The next week or so was literally like a match between them to see who had the darkest and was most involved in the spirit world or whatever. They'd compare scars on their wrists and brag about cutting themselves and doing things like sneaking out in the night. In a move to one-up Autumn, Savannah drew a giant pentagram in the parking lot with chalk. Her parents found out, and she backed out and blamed it on Autumn. The next freaking day, people come over to repave the parking lot. The pentagram is now buried under it forever, literally. Savannah moved on to saying her friend had found Jacob's body and was going to put his spirit back inside it. Savannah continued to take advice from this friend, who fueled everything she did. She even said the friend was teaching her witchcraft. We mostly avoided her at this point, but she'd ask us to do things like make holy water with her and try and summon her a familiar. From that point on, she insisted she was a fire witch and walked around wearing all black with Halloween-like makeup on her face. She and Autumn frequently snuck out together, and we'd occasionally see cop cars at their house. My sister and I were avoiding them both, but now we'd get fiery texts from both of them if we hung out together with people, especially our guy friends. Once they saw us get home and stood in the parking lot pretending to be possessed. Autumn cut off all her hair and claimed to have tried to kill her teacher. My sister and I knew it was bullshit, or at least we hoped, but Savannah took it so seriously. She'd go around yelling to our neighbors about terrible crimes she'd committed or wanted to commit. She even told us that when she'd first seen us outside with hoverboards, that she'd wished we'd blow up. One day, we again saw the police come to her door. The officers had jackets that said they were from the Juvenile Justice Department. Her mom pulled me, my sister, and our mom aside to explain what was going on. Apparently 2 years before, they discovered Savannah talking with a man online. Her messages to him were hiring him to come literally kill her parents after making threats of killing them a few days before. We were able to confirm the story after pet-sitting for them and finding court papers about it. We'd known she was on probation, but she'd always tell us different stories as to why. Savannah continued to beg us to hang out with her after that, even inviting herself to spend the night. We avoided her at all costs, but she'd just follow us everywhere. It kinda died down when Autumn moved out, and Savannah moved with her family shortly after. Since then, she started doing service hours at horse stables and graduated from high school. I really hope she's gotten happier and more stable. Autumn messaged my sister a few months ago, asking to call her mom to confirm she was with us. She wasn't. We later saw her with a 19-year-old dude. She's 14 now. Me and my sister and our mom have moved as well. There were too many incidents in these apartments. Our new place is very quiet and peaceful, however. This story is by far not as crazy as some other stories on here, but I think it fits. This happened several years ago now. I think about 2009 or 2010. One summer evening, I hung out with my girlfriend for the day at her house. I ended up leaving at around 10 or 11, so it was really quite dark out. Before I drove off, though, my girlfriend hung out with me in my car for a few minutes. Now, my car was an early 90s Dodge or Pontiac sedan. It did not have automatic locks, so when my girlfriend stepped out of my car, she did not lock the door again. I drove off, and instead of taking the back road home like I usually did, I decided I'd take the main road this time, since it was late and there weren't many cars out. However, there was a lady standing next to a bus stop. She was pacing around in a circle, and I got the sense that she was anxious or nervous about something. When she saw my car, she flagged me down. I pulled the window over and reached down to roll down the window. No automatic windows on this one either. That's when I noticed that the door wasn't locked. Before I could do anything, the lady opened up the passenger door and took a seat inside my car. I was surprised by this, but I didn't feel like this lady was a threat. She was white, blonde hair, probably in her late 30s or early 40s. I asked her if she was okay or if she needed help. She tells me that she's just trying to get home, but her phone died so she couldn't get a hold of anyone. She also missed the last bus. This sounded plausible to me, and since she didn't seem threatening and was already in my car, I offered to drive her home. I started driving up the main road and asked her for directions to her place. We drove for maybe 2 minutes when she told me to turn down into a residential neighborhood. As we were driving through, she started talking to me non-stop. "Thank you so much for stopping. Not everyone is as nice as you. You're real cute, you know that? Your car is super awesome too." I replied with a weak, yeah, thanks. She went on. "It's so nice to find someone who's trusting this late at night. I like trusting people." At that point, we came to a stop sign, so I turned left and then right. When I looked over to the right, she gave me this creepy smile, an ear-to-ear Joker-type smile. I also noticed for the first time that her pupils were very dilated and darting around all over the place. At this point, I finally started to realize that picking up a strange woman late at night who may be on drugs was perhaps not the best of ideas. I started to think of ways to get her out of the car, but I also didn't want to be rude. I know, I was young and dumb. Before I could think of anything, though, She asked me for my phone so she could give her friend a call and let them know that she was coming home. I sheepishly lied to her and told her that I didn't have my phone on me. I was then struck with a feeling of dread because my phone's ringer was set to loud and any notification or message would reveal my lie. Just my luck. A moment later someone texted me and my phone buzzed off. "Oh, I thought you didn't have a phone." "I forgot I had it. I thought I left it at home." I don't appreciate being lied to. She trailed off as if she had more to say. I started to get really nervous at this point. We were deep into this neighborhood, but it was really dark. I needed to get this lady out now. She then points up the road and tells me to take a right at the next stop sign. The road curved a bit from where I was, so I could see that there was a dead-end sign. For whatever reason, the thought of turning onto this dead-end street terrified me. Then I had an idea. Right before we got to the stop sign, I pulled over. I told the lady that my car was making a funny noise and the temperature gauge was slowly going up. I turned off my car and popped the trunk. I told her I was grabbing a flashlight from the trunk and asked if she could step out and hold the light for me while I looked at the engine. I got out of the car. I looked back at her. She looked both mad and annoyed, but she also stepped out. I went to my trunk and rummaged through the things I had in there for a few seconds. My flashlight was right in front of me, but I needed to be sure that she was standing in front of the car. Once she was there, I closed my trunk and started walking to the front with my flashlight. My heart was pounding, but I knew I had to keep my voice steady. I handed her the flashlight and then said something like, "Oops, I forgot to pop open the hood. Let me do that real quick." I got back in the car, and I did pop my hood. At the same time, though, I turned the car back on and threw it into reverse. The lady just stood there staring at me. Once I had enough distance, I put the car back in drive and drove straight past her. She was standing near a streetlight, so I got one last good look at her. I noticed she was holding a knife of some sorts in her hand. There was also a large man that stepped out of the shadows and stood right next to her. At first, I thought she might be getting attacked, but then they walked off away together. I know that this was 100% my fault. It was stupid of me to let her get in my car, and even stupider for me to agree to drive her home. I don't know why she didn't try to attack me earlier. I don't know if they were simply looking to carjack me or something else. To start with some background info, years ago I did some work as a promotional model in Austin, Texas. It was a pretty good gig. No nudity or even a bikini. About once a month I would work at a club opening or a festival handing out t-shirts. Once we did promos at a city marathon and even got to keep the shoes, which was pretty cool. Anyway, it helped me to make ends meet as a single mom, and I made a lot of friends while working there. I had a regular Monday to Friday job as a receptionist and went to school as well, so I would take jobs on the weekends my son was with his father. So this guy, Doug, also worked for the same booking agency that I did. He promoted concerts. He was a nutcase. Before I figured this out, though, we became friends on social media. He was heavily into music, as am I, so we struck up conversations mostly about music and work and so on. He asked me out to dinner several times, and I declined. Nothing against him at that point. I explained to him that I was a busy chick, 2 jobs, a kid, and school, doing it all on my own, besides my ex helping out with our son. Finally, I agreed to have dinner with him. A couple of weeks before our date, I had plans to go to a pub with a couple of my girlfriends. I invited him to come hang out with us so I could get a feel of what he was like before we went out alone with him. I guess something was already setting off alarms somewhere in my mind, although I wasn't really conscious of it yet, if that makes sense. He seemed pissed off from the moment he arrived. He sat down with my friends and I, and we were having a great time joking around and catching up. He all of a sudden asked if we can leave them and go somewhere private, just the 2 of us. I said no. We came here as a group after all. I tried to make sure that we weren't excluding him or anything, but he just seemed so angry. I had gotten a tattoo about a month prior, and had not seen my friends since that time, so I pulled up my shirt sleeve to show them the tattoo. He got really angry. Why on earth would you get a tattoo? You're far too pretty to have tattoos where people can see them. It makes you look like trash. I laughed it off, but inside I was starting to get very angry. He proceeds to tell me over the course of the night that I should have my nails done professionally, because it's a polished look, and if I wanted to look like a lady, then it's my job to do things like that. He also says he can't understand why on earth I would work 2 jobs and go to school, since I could just get married and settle down instead of wasting my time. That pursuing a career in special education was ridiculous anyway because I wouldn't make any money. Needless to say, he ruined my night, and I plan to never see this guy again. My friends and I still talk about his douchebaggery to this day. I didn't respond to his texts or calls, and sent him a message that I was not interested in friendship or anything else. His comments were rude and hurt my feelings, and were in no way comfortable. So he's a jerk, right? You meet people who have issues, and that happens sometimes. No great loss. I didn't block him on my social media. Big mistake. And that's when he started to get scary. A week or so later, he sends me a message asking if we're still going to dinner. I said no, of course we're not. I'm not interested in dating you. He didn't answer, but he posted under one of my pictures with my friends at the pub saying, I guess what you want to be is a barfly all your life. When somebody tried to come in and take care of you, you just act like a bitch. I blocked him from everything. That night I got 3 phone calls. One from my best friend who said he messaged her asking for my address because I had left something at his house I had never even been to and was going to bring it back to me. One from my ex-boyfriend's mother telling me that a strange man had messaged her to ask if her son and I were truly not together, or was I a slut that was just leading him on? Did I really alternate weekends with my son's dad, or was that just an excuse not to date? Finally, one from my mother asking if she knew that I, 24 at the time, went to bars and met strange men, and that he was offering me safety in a loving, caring relationship. Needless to say, all 3 of these women freaked out and were extremely worried about me. The message to my mom really pushed me over the edge. I called him and told him he was a psycho, and to never contact me or anyone else again. He started cussing me out, and I hanged up and blocked him on everything. I never heard from him again, thank God, but I was really nervous for a while. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. Thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. I got a big update for you guys today. It seems like the Teespring store is finally online, so if everything's going well, you should probably be able to see all of the new merchandise on the merchandise shelf below the video. I got some mugs, I got some phone cases, and I got some t-shirts for y'all with the designs on them. All of the shirt designs are under one thing, so if you click on the sweatshirts, it should take you to a page where you can order a different variety of different kinds of shirts. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that. Let me know what you guys think, if it looks good, the pricing, everything. So look forward to that. As always, if you guys liked the video, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a story that you'd like me to read, or you have a story that you'd like to send in yourself, please be sure to check the description of the video below, as it contains all of the links to my social media, including my Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, and Twitch accounts. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the name of the story is, how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in, and what type of story it is, if it does have a type. Also, if you decide to send in a story, please be sure to properly format it into separate paragraphs. Thank you guys very much for that. If you guys are curious about the music used at all in this video, it's all listed in the description below, in the order of which it appears in, with links to all of the artists as well. So if you enjoy their work, please be sure to check it out and support them. Speaking of artists, as always, my friend Alan is doing the thumbnails for the videos now, so I have links to all of his art pages in the description as well. So if you like his art and you appreciate it a lot, please be sure to check out his pages and go support him, because he does some really great stuff. I think that's all for today, guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.